Good morning. Um, Today we're going to get a hold of the Nebraska Attorney General's office. This will be the first time that I have had somebody call them with me. See, that's the thing, is that I needed help in person. I needed someone to make these calls with me so I wouldn't get blown off. I needed somebody to look at this evidence and help me get it to where it needs to go. Now, a few months ago, after what Dennis and Brenda put me through, whether it was intentional or not doesn't make any difference. The consequences are the same. Dennis come out of his house looking for a fight, screaming and shouting. By the end of it, me and him sat down on the curb and had ourselves a conversation. See, we teach men and women differently. We teach men that if you got a problem, you fucking hit that nail right on the head. If you got an issue, you resolve it. If there is an impasse, well, that's life, isn't it? Big difference between him and his wife. Big difference. Now, there's a lot of people that I went to for help that, well, honestly, I considered them family. I considered Dennis and Brenda Dickinson my family. Now, Brenda, when Natalie died, Brenda almost died too. Brenda was also going to go to court with me, but she didn't show up. A lot of people were going to go to court with me and didn't show up. A lot of people were extremely dishonest, like Brandon Ratner. Now, don't get me wrong, there's lots of stuff these people did, but they didn't try to make a police report with me. They didn't try to get the truth into court. They made zero effort at that. Zero effort. On the bright side, Brandon was at least there for court. I'm thankful for the things that people did. The problem is, without them speaking up about it, it doesn't make any difference. These people keep telling me to call all these different places, and I've called all of them. Y'all got to hear Meg's conversation yesterday. She got to take part in it after just one day. Just one day. She was exhausted. You know, she had to take a day off of work to do that. So I'll tell you about me and Dennis's conversation. I went over and I knocked on his door. And I was trying not to cry. See, Dennis and Brenda, they hurt me a lot. Doesn't matter if it was intentional or not. I've been trying to turn in the police here in Chapel, Nebraska for 3 years. No matter what, without somebody in person, I don't get heard. I needed somebody to go in with me to make police reports because I am not heard. When I tried to turn in Cody Selhorst and Jared Hahn, they had me committed to Scotts Bluff, and I was explaining to Jen Beebe, who had not done shit to help me. There's things that she did that were helpful, But I needed her to speak up. And before she could speak up, she needed to listen. Now, there aren't very many people that listen. There aren't. Brenda didn't listen. She was on drugs. She was on steroids for her rheumatoid arthritis, and that makes it difficult for her. A lot of people might say, well, you're making excuses for her. If she was a decent person, she would actually listen. Well, you ever had rheumatoid arthritis? Do you know what that pain is like? The thing is that all of these people that I went to for help, they could at least admit that I tried to get help. A decent person would have done that. That's the thing about Brenda, is that I thought of her as family. I thought of her as a decent person. But then when she couldn't tell the truth, couldn't find it within herself to tell the truth, she showed me she's not family. When I called her, pretty much like everybody else, when I call them to try to get help, they end up talking about themselves nonstop. Dennis's idea is same as most of y'all. Sean, you need to move. I have moved over 40 times. Over 40 times in the last 4 years. Moving is not the answer. Fighting this in court is the answer. Showing the truth so that I can actually go see my loved ones without fear of being abused by the police. That's important. The police, the courts, and the Bollingers took advantage of my disabilities to get away with the crimes that they committed. Over and over and over and over and over again. These people harass me and then play victim, and I'm not allowed to show the truth. I literally had to break the law to try to get someone to take a look, because people like Brenda Dickinson just couldn't find it within herself to tell the truth. She still knows the truth. She knows that I was trying to get help. But like I said about reputation, that's what this town runs on. Now, Dennis said, you know, when you posted stuff up on the internet, and I don't remember what it is you posted, you know, I felt attacked, and so did Brenda. Well, rightly so. Rightly so. See, that's the thing, is that Brenda Dickinson knows a lot about the situation. She knows a lot about the situation. And she needs to come forward about that, just like David and Laura Nelson. See, David and Laura Nelson sold me a shitty car that broke down in Virginia. Now, I'm not trying to say that they're terrible people for selling me a shitty car. I was grateful for that car. It got me all the way to Virginia, and it got me all the way back. The way that the police treated me after Natalie's death, and the way that I was treated at Clearview, both of those places before Natalie was killed. You know, these people bullied me to the point that I wanted my life to end, and rather than do something about the bullies, every officer I went to, every place that I went for help, they had me fucking committed for trying to get help stopping the bullies. All I'm asking them to do is look at the fucking evidence. Walter, get out of that. That's not yours. Sorry. I gotta go pick something up off the floor. I don't want the dog getting sick. God damn, I need to do that. This is not yours, bud. Anyway, I talked to Dennis this morning, knocked on the door, told him I wanted to talk to him, so he put on his jacket and he come outside. Brenda won't talk to me. Women in the United States are taught that if you do something fucked up, you have somebody else take care of it. You pretend that you didn't do anything wrong, and then you avoid the person that you wronged. It was and still is wrong of Brenda Dickinson not to speak up. The fact that she almost died in 2017 in December. That was 2017 in December. How long are you going to use that excuse for not coming forward? Meanwhile, I got to deal with a bunch of nut jobs, web sleuths. That's who I have to go to for help. Most people, as I have observed, who are into these web sleuth groups are drug addicts. Most of them. They're either into drugs or alcohol. They don't have real lives. They care about drama. Drama is entertainment to them. I haven't been coming to YouTube for the last 3 years for your entertainment. I have been coming to YouTube for the last 3 years because I need help in person. What the cops had to say is completely different from what these other people have to say. There's a woman in town, well, outside of town, who has a grandson who's autistic. And she would like to help me, but she has health issues. Her grandson has health issues. It's difficult for her to make the time. With Laura Nelson, she has plenty of time. Brenda Dickinson has plenty of time. Either of these two women can come forward and tell the truth at any point in time. Laura's excuse is that she has to be afraid for her son. No, Laura, because you didn't come forward, you have to be afraid for your son. Because rather than changing the laws for the better, you're allowing me to be painted as some sort of a monster because you don't want to come forward. This is going to come and bite your son in the ass. So, David and Laura Nelson, let's say your son's at school, you figure you got the day off, you can go do something, you get into a car accident, you are fucking dead. You die in a car accident, what's going to happen with your son? What kind of protections are there in place to prevent him from being victimized by the system for the rest of his life? You know, just like with my little sister and her husband, I let them know I care more about my niece than either of them. I care more about Rihanna's two boys than I care about Rihanna, even when she was alive. I care more about Amy Spencer's children than I care about Amy Spencer. But when you're stuck in a subservient situation where it's not your house, you don't have a running vehicle, and the person who is put in charge of those children is a raging fucking alcoholic. Sorry, Walter. What do? I learned that if I go to the police, they're not going to help me. When you're a homeless male, you don't matter. A lot of women did really screwed up things to me, women in specific. When they do something screwed up and you block them, well, they can't handle that. And they'll send their friends after you. And I can prove that that is the situation. That was the situation with Natalie and Alicia in Virginia. Sorry, Walter. Oh, you're going to knock over my salted caramel. Good boy. Good boy. You make everything better, asshole. Yes, you do. Tell you what, I'll roughhouse with you after the video, okay, bud? Does that sound good? I don't remember where I was at. Anyway, so Dennis, he was telling me, Sean, you burned your bridges with David and Laura. David and Laura weren't bridges. See, that's the thing. If you're not willing to come forward, you're not a bridge. You're not going to help me at all. Kind of like with Miss Peaches, a.k.a. Kayla Trujillo. She did a lot. She did everything except come forward. She did everything except go in with me. And I have to have someone go in with me for my safety. How is it that 8 law enforcement officers at that place in Longmont, how is it that 8 law enforcement officers are there and not one of them had a body camera on? Why? These guys know that they can get away with it if you don't have the money for a lawyer. Every law enforcement agent in America knows this. They prey on the poor in specific for a reason. Because they're easy to victimize, especially if you can call them mentally ill. They preyed on public bias and public opinion. Brenda and Dennis Dickinson felt attacked because I told the truth. It wasn't the pretty truth. It was the nitty-gritty bullshit. I'm sure Brenda didn't want everybody to know that she was a pot salesman. Of course, they all know now. There are supposed to be safety measures in place to prevent people like me from being victimized in this way. They were not observed and never have been. I was tortured in the jails repeatedly. That's what happens when you try to tell on the cops and you have to go in alone. Scott DaCosta, for the last 3 years, I've been trying to get help to turn him in for the crimes that he and his officers have repeatedly committed. And some of you got to watch that video of the morning that I was arrested. When they told me they were arresting me, did I resist arrest or did I say, hey, let me turn off my computer first? I was going willingly, but Scott DaCosta should have never been there. He should have never been anywhere near me. The man outright refused to do a damn thing about any of the threats, harassment, or assaults that I've endured in this town. And I have to be afraid to go to that man. But they repeatedly force me to. I need someone who will actually investigate the crimes against me instead of making excuses. Now, that conversation with my public pretender yesterday, and I do have to say public pretender at this point, he was already making excuses during that phone call. And Meg, she sees it differently. But she hasn't been through all this before. Her first day going to that court thing, she didn't go because she's all the way on the other end of the state. But I need help going through this evidence. There is too much of it. There was too much for me to take care of by myself because I didn't have the resources to do so. They took away all of my resources because they were trying to peg me for a murder I didn't commit. And I'm not talking about the Dual County Sheriff's Department. The Dual County Sheriff's Department is just trying to hide the crimes of themselves. How they treated me the first few times that I went to them. Now, Scott DaCosta, when I'm talking to professionals, and I have to talk to these professionals in order to be able to make a police report, Scott DaCosta just says, oh, well, you screamed, and magically it's all okay. He pretends that there was only one time that I talked to him and I was screaming the whole time. No, 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 no. There were over a dozen situations where I spoke to either DaCosta or his officers before I ever even raised my voice at them. Now, it is so complicated. Like Meg said, it'll take months to go through it all. Months to go through it all. And she hasn't spent months. She has only spent, well, a few days looking at evidence. And she's already gotten to see enough to know that I'm telling the truth. Now, the things that she had to say about the conversation with the public pretender, she said that she only got to talk to him for 2 minutes. He said that he didn't get a chance to read everything. Here's the thing. How can I go to the police about the crimes against me when they are too busy interrupting me to hear what I have to say? Why are they busy interrupting me? Because they know that they did wrong and they don't want to hear it. Brenda Dickinson doesn't want to hear that she did wrong things. Laura Nelson doesn't want to hear that she did wrong things. The wrong things that they did was to not tell the truth. Knowing that someone who can't defend themselves is being abused, they said nothing. I do yell a lot. I do scream a lot. If you're going to make excuses for my predators, you can't be my public pretender. So I got to find out how to get a different public pretender. Meg says that that's a bad idea. I need this guy. Well, no, I don't. I need someone who's going to do their fucking job. I need someone who is going to listen and look at evidence instead of make excuses on the phone with me. I tell him that Scott DaCosta is actively trying to run me out of town and running around telling people that. And he says, well, it's not against the law for him to not want you there. Well, holy shit, dude. There's a big difference between not wanting someone there and actively pursuing pushing them out of town. Now, why does he want me pushed out of town? Because I am still trying to turn him in. Right after Natalie died, I needed the ability to go in there and record all of these situations. Now I have recorded many situations, like with Tara Smith from Department of Health and Human Services. She wasn't listening to me. None of them ever do. They only listen to the dude with the fucking badge. I'm trying to turn in the son of a bitch with a badge. How wrong is it to force me to go to a man who has broken the law repeatedly, and I have to go to this man when people commit crimes against me, and no matter what, he doesn't want to investigate it. He doesn't want to do his fucking job. What are we paying him for? And you got to hear that public pretender say that my safety doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. So what the fuck is he gonna do? Nothing. He is not going to do a damn thing to actually help me. If you're going to be too busy arguing to hear what I have to say, go fuck yourself. You can't help me if you're not willing to listen. You can't help me if you're too busy talking. You can't help me if you can't get past your fucking opinions and assumptions. Scott DaCosta has repeatedly obstructed justice and used the term mentally ill to do it. He says, well, I never called you mentally ill. Dude, you're giving me the mentally ill fucking treatment. You don't have to use the words. You are committing the acts. Just like the rest of these predators, though, he knew that I didn't have the money. He knew that I did not have the money. Now, Dennis Dickinson, he tells me, well, why don't you just hit the road? Why don't you just travel to somewhere else where people don't hate you? It's a great idea, Dennis. I'm glad that you came up with that idea because I never tried that. Oh, wait, yeah, actually, I did. I moved over 40 times in the last 4 years. I shouldn't have had to do that. There's a lot of fake ass people out there who promised to help, but then they just procrastinated and procrastinated and procrastinated. Brenda Dickinson is one of them. Now, all these people, when they don't keep their word, they make excuse after excuse. Their excuses are bullshit. Here's another one, Bobby Forrest. This guy used to be friends with Natalie. He's a piece of shit. He's still on my friends list, but doesn't hear anything I have to say. He's got me blocked. Didn't unfriend me or actually block me. It's just a little thing that makes it so that they ignore you. I need help. The longer you ignore me, the longer that it takes for you to keep your word, the more harm comes to me. With this last situation with Scott DaCosta, he shouldn't have fucking assaulted me. He should not have been there. They say if it's an emergency, call 911. I called 911. The FBI ignores the fuck out of me. Not once, ever, has anyone from the FBI ever fucking called me back. Not once. They did everything that they could to try to help to frame me for crimes that I didn't fucking commit. They did everything that they could to prevent me from being able to show the truth. They weren't there to look at the fucking truth. They were there to help frame me for crimes I didn't commit. On the bright side, there were also crimes that I did commit out of desperation. I had to commit these crimes. Because the police continued to commit crimes over and over and over again without their body cameras on. They knew what they were doing is wrong, and they obstructed justice repeatedly. Not like it matters. Dennis and Brenda Dickinson aren't going to tell the truth. They want to be pissed off because I posted their personal business on YouTube. Well, fuck you, Dennis and Brenda. I love you both. I really do. But that shit showed up on Facebook and on YouTube because you didn't come forward and tell the truth. I wouldn't ask you to tell the truth if my phones hadn't been stolen. I'd just pull up the screenshots and put them up on YouTube and Facebook. Well, Facebook. I don't know how to put them up on YouTube. Now, I think I can probably put them up just a few of them at a time. The problem is I don't have the time. I'm going to go take a shower. After I take that shower, I'm going to take the dog out to play. I'll be right back. I got to pee. Miss Laura. Well, she found spirituality. What does that mean to me? It means she found herself an excuse to do nothing. I got to find a community member who's willing to look at evidence and help me to make these reports. I can't think of anybody better than Chris Kurth. Why is that? Because the guy has repeatedly threatened my life over things that didn't happen. I'd like to sit down with him and show him all the evidence. I would love that. You know what? Fuck it. I'm on here. Might as well. He's on my people you may know list. So I might as well click on it and send him a fucking friend invite. Well, it's not showing the people you may know thing at the moment. So I'll look his name up. By the way, I unblocked my little sister this morning. She had been blocked since I was in Virginia. I blocked her on October 9th of 2016 while I was visiting Natalie. That's because my family was never a family, ever. Talk about broken homes and whatnot. Chris Kurth, right there. All right. Says worked at dairy farms. That's not a dairy farm, by the way. Any of y'all who have paid attention through all of this, which would be literally nobody, there's a guy named Kevin Dairy. Back when I was younger, I didn't have a vehicle and I didn't have a safe place to go. Kevin Dairy literally took a day out of his life to drive me all around western Nebraska to apply for jobs. We went to a fish hatchery, you know? We went to probably 10 different places, and he spent the whole day driving me around to these places. That's Kevin Dairy. His daughter Alyssa, she was probably my third or fourth biggest crush in Chapel High School. My biggest crush in Chapel High School when I first moved there was a young woman named Cammie Hawkins. That was because she was nice to me. Everybody else was pretty well mean or ignored me, but she actively came and talked to me on her own. Y'all got no idea how cool that is, especially after having to deal with Jody Saunders. But you know what? It's been a lot of years since high school. Jody Saunders, she might be a decent person. You know, Dylan Bauer was a fucking douchebag in high school, but he's different now. All right, so on Chris Kurth's account, he has a hot pink Peterbilt on the very front. I think it's beautiful. So I'm going to hit the like button. Oh, there is no like button. It just says share. Looks like Tina is friends with Chris. And that's where a lot of stuff comes in complicated. A lot of these people that I've gone to for help, they're friends with my predators. Of course they're not going to do anything. Me and he have 9 mutual friends. Who are these mutual friends? Let's take a look. Brett Elizabeth May Fry. Who is that? That is Brittany. She's one of the people that was missing that I helped to find back in 2014. There's Holly, and she lives here in town, right across the street from Jeff Baldridge, who is a friend of mine, and, well, quite a few friends, actually. He lives right across the street from Leslie Snell and Clint Snell. I'm sure you guys have heard the way that I talk to Miss Leslie. I'm not very nice to her anymore. There's a woman named Rebecca. There's Tina. There's Tacy. There's Jace Jepson. Four of these people on her friends list, 5 of these people on her friends list are my witnesses. Or his, I'm sorry. send him a friend invite and send him a message. Let's knock this shit off and be adults. I have the evidence, and I'd rather have you know the truth than continue this bullshit. I'm sorry Dan stole your shit. He was the wrong person to go, well, the wrong person to help, I should type. Now, what are the chances that Chris Kurth will accept my friend request? I don't know. What are the chances that he'll read it instead of blocking me? I don't know. What I do know is that I am desperate for help, and I am desperate to get these people to stop. What better way than to show them the truth? I mean, I need help. I need somebody who will look at it. Maybe Chris Kurth will decide that being a decent person and looking at both sides before passing judgment is a better idea than being a butthurt little bitch. Many of these people are mad at me because I told the truth. Well, you know what? You should have told the truth. Now, it sucks that these situations continue to happen, and it sucks that I have to be afraid to go to the police. A lot of these people say stupid shit like, well, I thought you and Scott were getting along. No, we're not. I'm going to Scott because that's who I am told to go to. I think it sucks that somebody who I am trying to get charges pressed against is the very person I have to go to press charges against him. Now, as far as my court case here in Chapel, Nebraska, I can win that case easily, if I can get a lawyer who will actually do something, but I can't afford that. And that's what these guys prey on. Now, there's a lot of people who complain to me that they have charges on their record that they could have gotten off on, but they did commit the crimes. Me, I am willing to spend the rest of my life in prison. Wholeheartedly. Why? Because it's stability. If you're not going to listen to me and you're just going to harm me and repeatedly lock me up and inject me with drugs and all of this other excess bullshit, then just fucking do it. But make sure that you do it for life. Because I'm never going to shut up. I am never going to stop fighting for my rights as a human being. Rights that I don't have. Now, Chris Kurth, according to Sandy Fromm anyway, her old farmhand. See, when Chris went out there, what happened is he got drunk, and the guy that he got drunk with was her farmhand, Dan. So They decided, since they was drunk and that since I was out at Sandy Fromm's, that they would come out there and threaten my life and try to make it even more hell than it already is. Chris just messaged back, knock off what? I haven't been anywhere. Remember Sandy Fromm's? For outside Nettie's measures or on First Street in 2018. At least this is dialogue. I'm recording a live video right now. But if you are willing, I'd like to hear your side and why you came out to Sandy's knowing, fuck it, sorry, to threaten me. I think he should be allowed to say his side. Now, if he'd have come out there non-threatening and actually wanted to talk to me like a human being, we could have done so. Right then and there, we could have talked it out like human beings. It's a lot more effective. Now, I've tried to get the police to do something about Chris Kerf. They're not going to. They're going to make zero effort. And I have to be afraid to even go to the police. Now, they sure play nice sometimes. They say the pretty words. Now that all of the stuff that I needed in order to take them to court and slam their asses for the felonies they committed is all gone. He let those people go. He let Cody Selhorst go, knowing that I was trying to turn in Cody Selhorst and Jared Hahn. Life is grand with your head in the sand unless you're afraid of the dark, and I've got a plan starring Iron Man, me instead of Tony Stark. Made that up myself. Does that mean that I actually think I'm Iron Man? Does that mean that I actually think I got some sort of a magical tech suit that can fly me around the world in 80 days or whatever? No. It's the principle of the matter. You don't have to have superpowers to do the right thing. Now, a lot of people say it won't do any good. I talked to one guy this morning that I've been friends with since he was 9 years old. How did I become friends with him? Well, my little brother was a punk, and he was about 14. And this young man beat my brother up outside of Jeff Baldridge's house. No, I think it was outside of Bob's Welding, which is literally right next door to Jeff Baldridge's house. And I asked him this morning, told him, hey, I need somebody to go in with me to make the police reports. And he says what everybody says. Well, it won't do any good. It won't do any good. You're right. It won't do any good if you don't try. It won't do any good if you don't try. And I got issues with his aunt. I got issues with one of his cousins. I did have issues with two of his cousins, but one of them knocked his shit off and talked to me like a human being, and that I have so much respect for. Derek Jepson, thank you for, after all that bullshit, thank you for talking to me like I'm a person. Now let's see what Chris Kurth has to say. Oh, he hasn't seen the last one, apparently. See, I messaged your brother and sent him a friend request. I hope he takes me up on looking at evidence. All right, well, there's a lot of people who are mad at me for telling the truth about them. Well, they should have told the truth about me. See, the reason that the police got away with the narrative that they wrote down and got away with the crimes that they committed is because nobody went in with me. Not until Molly Smith, months and months and months and months and months after Natalie was dead. Molly Smith went in with me on, I want to say it was the end of June or the beginning of July of 2018. That's when I finally got somebody to go in with me, but it wasn't in Colorado. It was here in Nebraska. And I had to go to an officer, Jared Hahn, who had already done several situations with me where he had made me feel unsafe. But Molly Smith assured me that this is the officer I needed to go to. Yeah, that didn't work. Sure, he humored me because somebody was there. He didn't bother looking at evidence. Or did he? Yes, he did. He absolutely did. An instance that happened at my grandma's funeral in 2018 that Jordan Anderson should have done something about. It should have at least been documented. He should have written a police report, but guess what? He didn't. Same with Officer Michael Beard. When you make a 911 call, they have to make a report. They have to. Why did I have to break the law? Because police were not doing their jobs. That officer, Jordan Anderson, did not take the situation seriously. Now, albeit that is not entirely his fault, you can see in the video that he is really not interested. He is really just doing those things to humor me. But if you look at the very beginning of the video, you get to see why. It's because Graham, who had no fucking idea what the hell was even going on, went out and spoke for me. When Jordan Anderson said, is this one of those things where he just needs someone to talk to? No, I need somebody to do their fucking job. Ted Bollinger thought that he was going to pull some fucked up shit and then erase his comments, and that would mean that he could get away with it. No, dude. No. See, that's the thing, is that in the notifications, your comments are still there. Now, Alicia eventually got on and said, my dad's not hurting me. Well, thank goodness. Why did it take 7 fucking hours? Alicia Bollinger, you had my phone number. Your dad was asking for my phone number. You had my number. You had my number the entire time. You called me from your stepmother's phone on December 29th of 2017. You called me from your stepmother from her phone. I saved it as Alicia Bollinger. Imagine my surprise when your other ex-stepmother, Danica, got a hold of me, let me know that she wasn't the Shelley that we were talking to in Virginia. Oh my God, my nose itches and my neck hurts. Life is grand. Imagine my surprise when Danica hooked me up with Shelley's number, and it turned out to be the number that you called me from on December 29th. I needed help turning in my predators, but nobody would help me. They were too busy giving me lip service and making excuses. I don't want to get involved. You're already involved. If you weren't already involved, I wouldn't be asking you to tell the truth. Well, what am I supposed to tell the truth about? Did I go to you for help? That's a good question. Did I go to you for help? See, what the police wrote down as a narrative is that nobody would help me and that I wasn't trying to get help. The police outright slandered me every step of the way. Anywhere that they could slander me to justify their crimes, they did so. These people did horrible things to me, and the police looked the other way every single time. I have no options except to break the law in order to get a fucking court date, in order to show the harm that I have received in the last 4 years. I shouldn't have to take it to YouTube, Brenda. I shouldn't have to take it to YouTube, Dennis. I shouldn't have to take it to YouTube, Laura and David. I shouldn't have to take it to YouTube, Alicia or Danica. I shouldn't have to. Peaches, I shouldn't have had to take this to YouTube. Shannon Alvarado, I shouldn't have had to take this to YouTube. Fuck all of you. Seriously. If you can't tell the truth knowing that a man is being harmed because you didn't tell the truth, you are a horrible excuse for a human being, Dennis and Brenda and David and Laura and Alicia and many, many, many more. If you're too busy making excuses for my predators to hear what I have to say, you are a piece of shit. Plain and simple. Now, what are the chances of Chris Kurth manning up and talking to me one-on-one? Well, probably about the same as my chances of winning the lottery at this point. Well, let's see. All right, you guys, I'm going to go take a shower now. Be safe.